So we have a fantastic technical team, to be honest, and they work really hard to share insights and run training sessions on upcoming changes. Our tax team also does a similar thing. So, as soon as the change in government was announced, they were sharing details about what tax changes are forthcoming. So CPD, CPD is obviously a requirement, but it's also something that we build into sort of our sort of day to day, actually, I would say. So signing up to newsletters, like accountancy age newsletters, other industry newsletters like AIMA or Private Equity Wire, etc. And being in contact with compliance advisors is really helpful because webinars, didn't die after COVID. In fact, they are still very much alive. And to be honest, a really helpful tool, a little hour-long lunch and learn is great. So that's really how I do it. I just try and build it into my day-to-day every.
So the clients are difficult. So we're very good. I'm fortunate that because we've got scale, we've got teams of people that do that for us. So I'm very lucky that I don't have to be a bookworm and make sure I'm up to date on everything. When things are pertinent, obviously I'll join webinars. I'll make sure that like you said, the digital stuff that I'm on top of. The MTD stuff is a frustration. I know from speaking with vendors that they build something ready to go and actually it gets pulled, and then they waste all this resource, and the government, HMRC, just go, actually, we're not ready, pull it. That is very frustrating for vendors, which is why when they start to release stuff, they'll go, oh, Sage, I haven't done anything on that yet. I don't blame them. Like, until something's concrete, it's very difficult to keep chucking resource at stuff until it's nailed on. And our clients, we make sure they're up to date. We've got a client manager group that makes sure they're in touch with all their clients. We've got a marketing team that will produce the publications that we need. So we're quite lucky that we have resource to fall back on. I don't envy people in smaller firms that have to try and juggle and do everything, because that is tough, especially as things are now. Like you said, with the new government, who knows what changes will be made. It will be hard work for those independent accountancy firms for sure.
I think talking to your clients about what's affecting them is really important with that. And making sure that you're talking to people and key players within the industry, making sure you're always going to industry events and you're listening to key players within the industry talking about updates that are going to be happening in the near future. And that way you're always going to be more proactive than reactive when new legislation comes in, and you'll be much better placed to advise your clients and make sure that they're better prepared, and again, they're not being reactive to it, and you're putting them in a good position to get ahead of it as well. Particularly, I work an awful lot with financial services, so the FCA regulations are changing all the time. So it's kind of been a skill that you've have to get used to, that things can change unexpectedly. Things can, as you saw, like new Labour government, it's going to be hard to predict now what's going to happen. So it's kind of the nature of the industry that we're in, that we're just used to that change. Making sure you're always keeping up to date with your CPD, making sure you're always going to update and refresh your courses, because they'll tend to normally have things that will change in the future. And also just things like articles, newspapers, making sure that you're always kind of got your ear close to the ground with those sorts of things as well, as to what's going on in the industry.
I think we're no stranger to changes in payroll legislation. Changes in government bring that. So we're always, reading the news or the bulletins that are coming out from HMRC. But also we have in-house training sessions from external providers, but we also do internal training to keep our team up to date. Because ultimately, if clients are outsourcing their payroll, fundamentally, number one, it has to be compliant to legislation. So it's also being able to adapt quickly to legislation. There was only last year that there was all the changes to national insurance. So it's being able to adapt quickly and being able to put those in place but also then communicate that to our clients. We hold an annual year changes to legislation for the next financial year, so our clients are always informed, and then that goes out also in marketing pieces with certain articles. So yeah, keeping up to date with the legislation is definitely, again, a really top priority, to make sure that we as a firm are compliant, but also ensuring our clients are for their team and employees.
Whether or not the new government came in, the regulatory environment is constantly changing. We are always being kept on our toes, and look, staying compliant is challenging. You know, frequent updates, changes to standards, and we also obviously need to maintain the highest level of standards and know the changes, because that's what clients come to us to ask about. So it's continuous learning, adaptability, but it also, I hope, reinforces the trust that our clients have in us, that we do know this. And you know, we do a lot of internal training, we do a lot of external training. The amount of, you know, sometimes too much, and obviously we have to keep up to date with our CPD, and there's changes to that as well. And look, as part of the firm, I get quite heavily involved in the training side. I enjoy the promoting a strong training environment, staff mentoring staff, and just ensuring we're sort of kept up to date. But yeah, it's fast paced, but you know, that's what I enjoy, and it's got to be done. I don't want to just sit there, you know, learning the same old stuff. I love things. That's one of the good perks of the job, to be honest.
And we're certainly not regulated in any way like an auditor is, or maybe an accountant. Well, that's quite a broad term, isn't it? But an accountant is. So we don't follow standards, and we don't, in terms of our work and our output. So actually, funnily enough, we're probably less regulated than a lot of accountants. But saying that, what we're reporting on is the accounts and accounting, and they follow regulations and audit standards and all those kind of things. So we need to be, and our job is to give an opinion on that. So we clearly need to be familiar and up to date with everything that's going on. It's probably a bit harder because there's nothing to force us to keep up to date. I remember when I was at DY, you had stuff given to you every quarter or every month or whatever. But yeah, no, so there's nothing given to us. It's mainly just, a member of the ICAW, and just kind of keeping up to date with the emails I get from them, any updates that come through there, and just general